That is the Pitt fight song. And Mr. Pitt joins us now. For year number what of broadcasting is the play-by-play man. Bill Hillgrove is with
51.
us. 51?
Jeez. Wow.
I was 7 when I started.
Well, speaking of 7, Bill, you got Cade Bell, the offensive coordinator, saying they're going to run plays every 7 seconds yesterday. How's that going to treat you, man? I feel like you got the hardest job in the world now.
Well, I better take a stenographer's course because I like to keep track of the play-by-play, so I got to develop some quick shorthand. Also, it won't be every play. There'll be sequences when it goes that fast, but they do have check with me's, and so that's going to give me a little time to write and certainly Pat Bostic more time to talk.
Bill, who are you excited to pay attention to this year? Obviously Nate Yarnell, Eli Holstein, they're going to get a plethora of the reps at quarterback on Saturday, but anybody outside of the quarterbacks, are you excited to see take the field on Saturday?
I'm excited for them to use Gavin Bartholomew more. Didn't use him enough last year, and I think that's a plus. Plus, I think they're fairly deep at tight end, as they are deep at running back. The O-line, I think, is solid. Wide receivers, yeah, you got some question marks, but Kanate Mumfield leads a pretty good, talented, fast group. So I think they can score points.
Is that the biggest question? Because I happen to think, and this might be rudimentary, I think Narduzzi's going to have the defense playing well because he's Pat Narduzzi and it's defense after all. Is it a question as how fast can the offense get up to speed, and that will help get them to their ceiling this year? Just how fast they can get that down.
Adam, that's a good point. And I think, as you know, football's hand in glove. And the defense has to sometimes help the offense. But last year, that offense was so woefully pitiful that, it put too much of a strain on the defense. And I think that came to fruition as an example, the Syracuse game where Syracuse just said, we're going to run the ball down your throats. They couldn't stop it. I think right now up front, they have 6 tackles who could start, maybe 7. You've got a much improved linebacker core. So, I think they'll do a better job of stopping the run, and I think that's the key. Narduzzi always wants to make you one-dimensional, and I think they can do that.
Billy, you got Penn State, West Virginia Saturday, obviously James Franklin, Neil Brown. You got Pitt in West Virginia about 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks and a little bit from now. Out of all 3 of those coaches, Pat Narduzzi obviously included, who has the most pressure to win this year in your opinion?
Well, that's a good question. I think Narduzzi has pressure to win, but you know what? I think last year was an aberration. I don't think it was a true indication of where Narduzzi's program stands. And I think the failures at offense just kind of took that whole thing and took it south of the Mason-Dixon line. And so I think he has the most pressure, but there's pressure on Neil Brown. And hey, James Franklin, still to a lot of Penn State fans, he's got to beat Michigan and or Ohio State, and that hasn't happened yet.
Bill, you spend a lot of time, obviously, around Pat Narduzzi, so I imagine that you have a good feel for how he's feeling. He's not always going to tell us if he jumps on the air, though we love having Pat on, and I think we have a nice rapport this show with Pat. Are you picking up optimism from Narduzzi? Is there a quiet confidence? What's his vibe going into the year?
I think it's pretty confident. I think I can read him pretty well. I mean, he's been here 10 years, and I think he knows that the focus is on his team. And I think in this opener particularly, Kent State has like 42 transfers, so you don't know what you're dealing with. They got a second-year head coach and 2 new coordinators. So, I think he's right in saying we just have to do what we do and worry about that. And I think that will get them through the early part of this schedule. Cincinnati, although they come off a 3-9 season, they're going to be better. And certainly Pitt, West Virginia, you just kind of throw out records, and it's a big rivalry. And so, that could make it more interesting.
Bill, we're super excited about this. We're going to be doing it every Thursday at 7:50 throughout the football season. We appreciate you waking up today and joining us, and we can't wait to be doing this here.
I'm going into the hardware store to buy 2 more alarm clocks.
Thank you, Bill.
See you Saturday, Bill.
Best of luck on Saturday. Have a great call.
H2P.
There's the man.
Yes. H2P.
Bill Hillgrove. I say it all the time.
H2P?
No, not that.
Hail to Pitt?
No.
I love Pitt.
No.
Pitt fight song?
No.
Pitt?
I was gonna say
I love Pitt.
There's a lot of people that are associated with the program that make it harder to hate Pitt than I used to. Like I don't care that my wife went there, my parents, screw them. But Bill Hillgrove, great guy. You're a great guy. Pat Boston, great guy. I happen to enjoy the conversations I've had with Pat Narduzzi. You guys make it tough on this
EJ?
mountaineer over here.
You know he's listening.
I know. That was an accidental omission on my part. Of course, EJ goes to the top of the list on niceness. As good as it gets in the country at the SID position.